Welcome to Comics Bazaar, the channel of comics commentary and arcana. This video features the Uncanny X-Men number 342, cover dated March 1997. Now there are two covers for this particular issue of the title, both of them by Joe Madureira, both of his penciled covers inked by Tim Townsend, but two different colorists. So on the variant cover, which is the Rogue one here, the color is by Liquid, that's Christian Lichtner. And over here on the Magneto cover, the color is by Steve Buccellato. So two excellent covers in their own ways, but I guess the most striking one is the Rogue one. It's a little bit risque too if you pay close attention to it in high definition, but it is the one that is worth the money now today. If you've got a nice copy of this one, hold on to it, take care of it. It's worth a few bucks, as they say. And let's open this one up to the splash page, and I'm going to go with the Magneto version for the review. So we do get a splash page to begin with, and it features the Beast. And look at the way that his nails are clawing into this particular surface, this tiled surface, and he simply exclaims, "Excuse me, but did I miss something?" So what is going on here? So at the end of the previous issue, which was set on on Christmas Eve in Midtown Manhattan, New York, where Gladiator attacked Cannonball and teleported 6 people to somewhere to do with the Shi'ar Empire, and he believed all 6 were X-Men, but one of them isn't. It's Trish Tilby, the Beast's girlfriend. So let's see what's going on here. Well, I really like this opening sequence by Madureira. It is so well done. There is such action and sense of momentum and dynamism, just kinetic art in this opening sequence. So turn the page and we get a double page spread here, and the X-Men are figuring out where it is they are and what is going on. So it really is they're thrown into the middle of things after being teleported by Gladiator. And here we've got Trish Tilby there. She's hanging on for dear life to Bishop, and they are going forward in space, and we see the craft that they are aboard, but there's no pilot. So we get a little recap of what's happened previously in the foregoing issue. And Rogue here saying, inferring, as near as I can tell, we're aboard a Royal Star Cruiser of the Shi'ar Empire. But where are they exactly? Well, they're in space. Joseph gets that much. So we have to look to the Beast here for an intelligent perspective on what's going on. He says, "Believe me, Joseph, being in space is the least fascinating part of our coming ordeal. The most significant aspect of our current exigency is the fact that and there's a little mistake here, a little typo, best is missing, an omission. To the best of my calculations, not only have we been transported untold light years from home, so I don't know where exactly they are, they don't know where exactly they are, in order to stop a threat that has placed the Shi'ar Empire in grave danger, but this ship is completely out of control." So this is the first thing they've got to overcome. But look at the detail in the art here, great rendition of all the different characters. And again, you really have a sense of them going against gravity here. It must be artificial gravity aboard the Star Cruiser, but they're really struggling to pull themselves forward on the deck of the ship. Here we have our creative team over here, written by Scott Lobdell, drawn by Joe Madureira, inked by Tim Townsend, letters by Richard Starkings and Comicraft, and the colouring done by Steve Buccellato and Team Booch. So let's continue with this. So Beast gets his hand on the controls here. All that being said, as he pulls the lever, let's see what we can do about getting the blue furred upper hand here. So he kind of hums to himself, a good sign. Peoples know. My rusty familiarity with Shi'ar linguistics notwithstanding, the readings bespeak dark foreboding. If we can't stabilize the internal environment, now we're all going to wind up as guests on mutant pancakes in space. So Joseph here, aka Magneto, is offering to do something using his powers, but Rogue tells him stay put. And this is something I've noticed in the previous issue, that Rogue is kind of acting as team leader in the field here, absent Storm or Cyclops. And that's an interesting development for her character, but it mirrors the way that Scott Lobdell wrote her in Age of Apocalypse, where she was team leader in the field. What do you have, Hank? She asks. Not a lot, he says, but if my calculations are correct, because Hank is always calculating. Well, let's see. What are his calculations this time? What's happening? What's going on? He says, this button should, and make things worse. Whoops, he says. Plan B, computer. So the computer is voice activated. Beast asks to speak to it and communicate in English. Recalibrate internal pressure to compensate for passengers. So I really like the way that Madureira here has rendered the force on Beast's face, where his hair has been flattened and the hair on his hairy face has been flattened up against his skull there. And we really have the sense of drama and momentum and dynamism here in this particular panel compared to that one, as well as Bishop still holding on to Trish Tilby and saying to Beast, the entire ship is coming apart at the seams. Now or never, Hank, says Trish. So he says to the computer's saying rather, compensation for non-mandatory life support would compromise pre-programmed navigational, I don't know what the com there would say, override, he says, and then the ship comes to a dead halt. Yeah, I really like that opening sequence. There's just a sense of kinetic tension, speed, and it's really well handled by the creative team, but most especially Madureira. And then everything comes to a dead stop and they end up there on the ground. So Beast is continuing his calculations and investigations. He says to the team, we aren't anywhere near the woods yet. Pay attention, class. That circle on the top, that's over here. It's our pre-navigated destination, a stargate, allowing us to traverse the lots of light years between here and Shi'ar space. And Gambit asks, and those small dots blocking our path, I suppose it's too much to hope that's just snow. Snow it's not, because remember this is taking place on Christmas Eve. It's an asteroid belt, and there's no time to alter our course before we hit it. So they're not out of the woods indeed. And let's see, who's going to step up and tackle the asteroids? Well, it is going to be Magneto, aka Joseph. He says to Beast, stay the course, Dr. McCoy, and Gambit backs him up. So everybody is on tenterhooks about how things are going to go, negotiating that asteroid field. And basically, let's see here, is it Gambit that says? He says, you heard the man share, take us through. So Beast asks Joseph, Beast, any guarantee this is going to work? No, he says. But they do manage to make it through the asteroid field. And Rogue here thinks to herself, amazing to think this is the same man who up until a few months ago, as Magneto, may have left a lot of us to die here in space as soon as look at us, but he doesn't remember that. Now, interesting too to consider all these various characters here, because I'm thinking back to the last big Shi'ar Empire storyline, which was under the creative hands of Chris Claremont and Jim Lee. So we're talking about Uncanny X-Men 275, 76 and 77, and the only member of the X-Men team from that mission and adventure present this time is Gambit. Rogue and Magneto were in the Savage Land at the time. Beast was involved in X-Factor, of course, and Bishop hadn't even arrived. So Gambit is the old hand here for the Shi'ar adventures, which is intriguing to think of. So Magneto is doing his thing, and they make it through the asteroid belt. He's very heroic here, saying, no matter the consequences to myself, I will get you safely through. Great art by Madureira, great colouring too. And they make it through. He did it, says Beast. But now comes the hard part. And I don't mean my driving per se. We have a choice. We can try and turn this cruiser around, or head headfirst into an intergalactic conflict that, according to Gladiator, could well mean the end of the Shi'ar Empire. The six of us against the universe, asks Gambit rhetorically. Sounds fair to me, mon ami. We're needed, aren't we? Says Rogue. Yeah, says Hank. Just thought I'd ask. And off they go through the Stargate. I really like this opening sequence. I think it's so well balanced in terms of the banter of the characters between each other. There isn't too much in the way of exposition shoehorned into the dialogue or the thought balloons. It's action, action, action. And this creative team of Lobdell, Madureira, Tim Townsend, and Buccellato really working very well together at this point in time, and Richard Starkings too. Then meanwhile, back on Earth, back at the X-Mansion, we have Cannonball. So Cannonball's made it back from New York. He was left behind by Gladiator, and senior members of the X-Men are coming into the mansion and wondering where's everybody else. You lost the X-Men, says Wolverine. He doesn't look too happy about it. It's like I said, they were up and snatched by Gladiator, he says, who left right afterwards. The only thing I got out of him was that Lilandra grounded him and the Imperial Guard from returning to the Shi'ar homeworld. I reckon from what he said, it's a mighty bad place to be just now. But not so mighty bad that they won't leave the X-Men's butts flapping in the wind. I'm telling you, with friends like the Shi'ar, who needs flaming enemies? And Wolverine was there the last time in 275 to 277, Storm 2, but not this time around. So I guess what happens here is their next mission is to go to Scotland, where they meet up with Shang-Chi and then head on to Hong Kong for the adventure with the Black King, Sebastian Shaw, and Wilson Fisk, Kingpin. And you can find my reviews of those issues 62 to 64 of Adjectiveless X-Men on the channel. But several million miles away, the Shi'ar cruiser is going through the Stargate, and Beast, having done his best with navigating the Stargate, says, if anyone wants me, Rogue, I'm going back to check on Trish. So Rogue, as I said, she's in team leader position. Gotcha, computer. What is her destination? Classified by the Royal Magistrates of the Shi'ar Empire. What is our ETA, asks Rogue. Classified. Swell. After all the X-Men have done for Lilandra, it was mighty considerate of her, sending us into the unknown. So we still don't know what this major threat is that X-Men were required to help with. Now we have a little moment. There's an interesting kind of bonding going on between Gambit and Joseph, but is it Gambit's ploy that's really operating here? Interesting, always in the run-up to issue 350, that Madureira puts Gambit's face very often in almost complete silhouette, kind of signaling to the reader that there's still something shady about him, which will be revealed in 350. Gambit, says Joseph, I just want to thank you for supporting me back there. It means more than I can say. And Gambit says, don't go getting all misty-eyed, Montfrere. Us untrustworthy types have got to stick together. So, exactly. We're getting telegraphed for us a reminder that Gambit, he may not have been the X-Trader, but maybe he was treacherous in some other way. And what is his dark secret that Rogue discovered in the run-up to Age of Apocalypse and then forgot because so horrified was she of it? So here we have our moment between Trish Tilby and Beast, who've recently gotten back together. And Beast, makes the point, the obvious point. I mean, you're not an X-Men. You're not even a mutant. You were just in the wrong place at the wrong time, meaning next to me. And of course, that has been a point of contention, maybe, or difficulty between them. The fact that Beast is a superhero, former member of the Avengers, X-Men, all of that, and Trish, of course, is simply human. Your point, Blue, she asks. It's just that, well, I mean, if there was a way I could get you back to Earth, which you can't, but if I could, but you can't, but if I could, I would, he says, even as she's getting changed, putting on the gloves there. So the conversation continues, and she says, Hank, have I ever told you how cute you are when you're being condescending? And he says, no, good, because you're not. Trish, I'm just saying that. You really want to be helpful, Blue. And what does he see? Well, she's all suited up, but it's not just practical. It is, because it's Madureira here. It is sexy and a little bit risque too, if you are watching this in high definition and zoom in on a particular part of her costume. The implication of it is a little bit cheeky, shall I say. So she's there being cheeky too. Zip me up, she says. Trish, why are you wearing a Shi'ar navigator's uniform? The first rule of being an international war correspondent is to always dress the part. And that's a reminder of really what she has been in the past and what she was under Claremont's pen. And so we're getting Lobdell returning to that aspect of Trish's character, and that's pretty nice to see, actually, because it's been a while since she's gotten any spotlight, certainly since Claremont left the title. So we have this little moment between them, and Trish is excited by the prospect of the danger oncoming, which I guess is an explanation of why she's still interested in the Beast and his life, that it doesn't put her off. On second thought, she says to him, "Shut up and kiss me, you big blue furry lug." And there we go. So his eyes are popped open for that. So he's having a nice Christmas Eve there. Then the mansion. I like that establishing shot too, with all the lights on. So there's no concern about the electricity bill there in the X-Mansion. And down in the underground complex, in maybe the ready room, we have Cyclops checking every conceivable frequency available through our Shi'ar communications technology, but they cannot make contact with Rogue and the other X-Men. It's as if an entire section of the universe just stopped. Oh, it's not only Rogue and the X-Men they're trying to contact, but the Shi'ar hub itself. But that shouldn't be possible, says Cyclops. So they can't reach them. And what about matters close to home, asks Storm. Scott, Professor Xavier's in government custody. Archangel, Psylocke and Iceman are on a leave of absence. The average human is still craving revenge for the assassination of Graydon Creed, and the legacy virus seems to be getting worse every day. So that's the basic general situation for the X-Books at this point in time. You're saying the X-Men that are left, Ororo, will do more good here on Earth? I'm saying the decision in this matter is yours, Scott. So they're not going to go into space after Rogue and the others. Instead, they're going to Scotland and Hong Kong ultimately. Then, back in space, we've got Bishop. So Bishop in the previous issue wanted to spend Christmas Eve alone. He's feeling fairly rudderless after the big reveal that the X-Trader was Professor X himself. That's what he's thinking about here in his many thought balloons. He's wondering what his purpose is, and whether he's got any friends among the X-Men. Am I someone, as my sister Shard always suggested, who is destined to be alone, he thinks. And who pops up at this opposite moment except for Rogue? There you are, Bishop, she says. So she's changed into the costume that she's wearing on this particular variant cover there. You can see that, I hope. So obviously a Joe Madureira design, as is this battle suit for Bishop, and she's saying to him, do you want to be alone, or do you want to talk time alone? He says, "No, Rogue, I don't think I want some time alone." So he's gone back on what he said in the previous issue. So now we get an interesting heart-to-heart here between Rogue and Bishop, something that we've probably never seen before. We've never really seen these two characters interact. And what's Lobdell thinking might be the character yield of putting these two together? Well, Bishop continues there saying he spent his entire life believing Professor X, first the legends and later the reality. Now I don't know what I believe in, he says. If it helps, I've found out the hard way, says Rogue in response, that there are some things a body can't change. All you can do is change the way you feel about it. So this is interesting, a kind of stoicism from Rogue. She went to Professor X all the way back in Uncanny X-Men 171, hoping that he could help her with her powers. Ultimately, he hasn't ever been able to do that. So in a sense, he disappointed her, though she's not articulating that explicitly here, but it's implicit between the lines of what she's saying. And if you feel nothing, responds Bishop, then you're just not feeling hard enough. So Rogue's stoicism is not about eliminating feeling, which is Bishop's form of stoicism. It's a different form. It's about feeling the feeling in the correct measure, which is actually, to be honest, more Aristotelian in nature. But let's not go down that philosophical rabbit hole. Side, she says, sometimes things have a way of working out when you least expect it. So she touches him. You're touching me, he says. What about your mutant power? This is a Shi'ar mining suit. The low-grade force field keeps us from actually touching. I still can't control the power, but I surprised you, didn't I? Indeed, Rogue, he says. This entire conversation has surprised me. And then I like the way that Lobdell holds the adverb for the last little balloon there. pleasantly. And Bishop, does he look very pleased? Well, he's always got that stony expression on, but maybe his heart is melting a teeny tiny bit. It would appear wherever we are, we have arrived. So why don't we see anything? The speed of light, explains Magneto, in hyperspace is twisted in such a way that the ship's sensors must recompensate for deciphering subspace transmissions. Really, replies Gambit, and I'd say a lot of readers will think the same. And how did you remember that, Amnesia lad? I don't know. So a little seeding there of maybe the possibility of Magneto getting all his memories back. In any case, Trish intrudes and says, or not intrudes, but interjects and says, we can dope it out later. Are you getting any transmissions to Beast? Not so much as a blip. It's like trying to raise the dead, so that sounds ominous. But according to the computer, we should be in visual range of the Empire's busiest docking facility in 5 seconds, 3, 2, stars and eggplants. So a variation on stars and garters. What do we see? We're going to get a big double page spread here. There we go. The busiest docking space station of the Shi'ar Empire, and it is a ghost station, and it looks like there's been a big battle too, with all of this debris flying around the station. So what is it that we're looking at? Star Station, Azura Taral, Shi'ar Hub, population, administrative staff and personnel number 700, transient capacity 3,212, humanoid standard. Scan for any biological occupancy. Scanning, verifying current occupancy 0. You're saying there's no one left alive in there? Affirmative. So, intriguing stuff. We're going to have a little ghost story now on Christmas Eve, because it is still Christmas soon inside the derelict space station. And this reminds me, like kind of in an empty house. It's a little call back to Uncanny X-Men 143, when Kitty spent Christmas Eve alone in the X-Mansion and was hunted down by an alien. And here they are in space now, and the question is there something aboard this space station that has killed everybody on it? So we've got a little scene here between Rogue and Beast. That's really well drawn panel there. Great. Between my super strength and your super intellect, maybe we could have done something to help these people. Hank, what in heaven's name could have caused this carnage? The Shi'ar Empire is the preeminent force in the galaxy. So he says, I wish I had an answer, Rogue. What I can tell is that by the condition of some of the bodies, this massacre took place some time ago. So they are very late to the action. We're skulking around down here looking for clues to find out what it is we're up against, trying to figure out why the entire station is running on auxiliary control, says Beast with his flashlight. And this is a nice little scene here where Rogue stops and she asks Beast, you reckon it's after midnight? He says, I reckon it is, yes. Merry Christmas, Hank. Merry Christmas, Rogue. So what a strange transition from Rockefeller Center, Midtown Manhattan, to a space station millions and millions of light years away in a completely different galaxy, with everybody on board the station dead. So, you know, there's this real connection going back a long time between Christmas and ghost stories, and I find it interesting that Lobdell either is unconsciously doing it or consciously doing it, but I like it. I think it's well done. Merry Christmas, Rogue, says Beast. If I can get the power core that runs this facility up and operating, I can. Fascinating, says in what way? Someone or something has stolen the power core, so it's gone. Then outside we have the odd pairing of Joseph and Gambit. Why is it my magnetic powers don't work on this alien metal, he asks. Maybe because it ain't metal, it's probably some kind of polymer, says Gambit in reply, but not to worry, we'll improvise. So Gambit uses his power to kick in the door, and they find nothing to report. Deck 23 is secured, but what are we looking at here? What is it that we are seeing here in this panel? It's very unclear. Is there something watching them? What is going on there? Well, it'll be the next issue before... Wait a second, let me just have a quick little look at that again. No, I'm not sure what we're looking at in that particular panel. And so Trish is thinking here to herself, I'm glad we have some static on the lines. Maybe no one will hear my teeth chattering. So she's scared, especially not after spending that time convincing Hank not to worry about me. I like that piece of characterization from Lobdell. Really nice top-down shot here on Bishop responding to Trish. What is it? And she says, I'm not especially fluent in Shi'arese, but if these readings say what I think they say, she's aboard the Star Cruiser. I've just detected a life form other than yours in that chamber. So Bishop doesn't see anything alive, or it could be me who's wrong, he says ultimately. So he starts pulling up this debris and rubble. And who does he find? Would have been nice if this was on a page turn. That would have been best of all, because it would have recalled the page turn at the very end of Uncanny X-Men 274, the big Jim Lee one. Bishop, I found your life form, Ms. Tilby, and she needs medical attention now. Help us, she says. In the name of the royal house of my sister, the Magistrix, Lalandra Neramani, I command you to help us. So what has gone on here? And why didn't she show up on the biological scan system as well, is a question that a reader might have. So she's the only survivor aboard this space station, and we have a little mystery, a ghost story. Yeah, Merry Christmas indeed. Next, where no X-Man has gone before. Great artwork in this by Joe Madureira, Tim Townsend, Steve Buccellato, and also, you know, the lettering too, the positioning of the lettering, uncluttered, really allows Madureira's art to stand out too. So everybody on this creative team, long used to working together well at this point. So 2 pages of letters here, nothing terribly interesting in them. Next month the battle rages on, and look at this, the Phalanx. Like, who wanted them to come back? Not me anyway, I'll tell you that much. So some advertisements here. There's a new artist on Ghost Rider, Pop Man. Some of that art there looks pretty decent. And also an advertisement for the Thunderbolts issue 1 coming out shortly. And there you go. I do hope that you enjoyed this review and commentary on Uncanny X-Men 342 with the 2 different covers. Did you get both of these covers? What did you think of this particular issue? Let me know in the comments section to the video. If you enjoyed my review and commentary, please like the video and share. It really does help the channel. And if you haven't done so already, subscribe to the channel and stay tuned for more content like this.